Speak on the Show 2021, episode 35. It's an unscripted Saturday, y'all. Y'all ready? Let's get this party started. Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On. I'm your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Good morning, y'all. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Saturday morning, episode 35, unscripted. We're just going to go off the top of the dome. I got some notes wrote down. We're going to go off the top of the dome. Let's get these formalities out the way. Give everybody the opportunity to get in. rwcoolins.com. That's the website. RW Coolins offer over all social media platforms. Go there, subscribe to YouTube. We're going to be eliminating the Facebook eventually, looking like the first of the year, and going strictly through YouTube Live. Also, if you want to download the audio after the show, you can go to Spreaker.com and search RW Coolins, or you can download it on Apple iTunes. Both of them are available for the audio only. So if you want to go there and listen after the show, feel free. All right. Let's see, I'm trying to get myself situated, y'all. Just trying to get situated. Brian Hoodie, good morning, sir. Good morning. Appreciate the support, bro. Appreciate the support. Trying to get it situated. It's a little tangled here. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask if you call in is say what you mean what you say. I got the telephone lines connected today. I know I messed up last week, but I appreciate everybody tuning in, making your comments as we go. That's what we do here on the Speak On the Show. Nothing I say is the end all to be all, but what we want to do is make sure that, we have some feedback, some, back and forth conversation, that type of thing, so we can have a very productive show like we do every Saturday morning. Big Al, appreciate your support, bro. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Appreciate your support, bro. So 844-904-2665. If you got something to say, call in. You can also comment as you've seen other people do. And we're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube this morning. And as I said, we'll be getting away from that here shortly. But it's an unscripted Saturday, y'all. Unscripted Saturday. Unscripted, I usually go off the top of the dome. I got some notes wrote down. We're going to go on, but we're going to do what we do when we do what we do. Lady Michelle, good morning. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support, Lady Michelle. So let's start with this. What you hiding and who are you protecting? And I'm saying this in the street slang per se. What you hiding and who you protecting? What you hiding and who are you protecting? Now, everybody knows that, they got this committee for January 6th for the insurrection on the Capitol. And they're doing an investigation. They've subpoenaed some people over the last couple of weeks. They've been subpoenaing people. They've been wanting these records from the archives. Good morning, Brenda Gray. Appreciate your support. They've been wanting these records from the archives of everything that was discussed in the White House during the time leading up to January 6th and after January 6th and during January 6th, during the insurrection and everything that was going on. And the former president, Donald Trump, has thrown every type of roadblock in that he can, like he always does. He pushes these lawsuits and everything like that. But what he does, he keeps throwing these lawyers out there to try to, minimize or delay the process. So this week he was able to get another delay. They denied him a couple of times, but he was able to delay the fact of the archives being turned over from the National Archives over to the January 6th committee, the insurrection committee. The question I have is, who are you protecting? Well, first of all, what you're trying to hide. Let's go here, because these records are, for the record. Every president, they keep the records years and years and years and years. They can dig into them. President Joe Biden already said he wasn't giving them any time of executive power, executive privilege in order for these people not to testify. So that's thrown out the window. This week also, Steve Bannon has been acquitted. Well, he's got to go show up on Monday, turn himself in because he got a subpoena, didn't show up. So he's saying he has executive privilege because the president gave it to him and so on and so forth. All these people try to throw these things in there. Let's just see how this is going to turn out. TC, Terrence Collins, good morning, bro. Appreciate the support, man. Appreciate the support. So we're going to see how this turns out. But my biggest question is, with all this that's going on with January 6th and all this time that has gone by, what you hiding? Excuse me. What you hiding and who you protecting other than yourself? Because everyone's seen what happened on that day. Everyone's seen what led up to that day. November was the election. From November, when the election ended, or Joe Biden was considered the winner by the votes, up until January 6th, we had all this going back about the voters and voter fraud and all these investigations, all these lawsuits. None of them came to fruition. So then on January 6th, we had this insurrection. And now that it's coming out that they've got a committee investigating what happened on January 6th and what led up to January 6th, it seems that everybody is trying to CYA. And for y'all that don't know what CYA is, cover your, you know what I'm talking about. But the biggest part of it is what we need to pay attention to is not just President Trump and what he's trying to hide, but all the people that he's trying to protect. And most of these people he's trying to protect were in the midst of everything that went on with January 6th. We heard rumors that some of them were giving tours of the Capitol. Some of them were giving locations of where the Democrats were going to be held in the Capitol. They knew where Mike Pence's location was. I heard an interview the other day, former President Trump saying that he wasn't concerned about Vice President Pence's safety because he heard he was in a safe location and he's being very well protected. But he didn't care whether anything happened to him or not. That should raise flags right there, because you're talking about the president talking about the vice president as if he's nobody. But we still have people that continue to support this type of behavior from a former president, or whatever you want to call him, depending on how you look at things. Russell Jenkins, good morning. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. But there's the National Archives is supposed to be releasing. It's supposed to be coming to U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia granted Trump an administrative injunction, is what happened. And now they're going to have arguments for the case on November 30th. And on November 30th, they're going to argue why they should be released, why they shouldn't be released, or whichever way they're going to go. November 30th is when this is going to happen. For me, I'm a little torn about this, because when you talk about something as far as overthrowing the government, let's just call it what it is, overthrowing the government. And the people who were involved setting up these things, set up the protest on the Capitol, on the grounds and everything like that. These people are not being held accountable to the full extent. And all these different throw this in there and throw that in there to try to prevent these things from coming out. It should let you know, if you're a thinking person, that all these things that are being done are to delay, are to be able to try to hide something or protect those who he knows or who they know are guilty as such. Just an observation. I know y'all get tired of hearing about this January 6th, but it's very important, because here's the thing. If they keep kicking this can down the road about this investigation, you're going to have people in the Capitol that were in the Capitol that day. They helped these insurrectionists. You're going to have these people coming up for re-election, and there's going to be nothing in the mix of you being able to understand whether you should vote for them or not. Now, most of you probably aren't going to vote that way anyway. However, don't you think it would make more sense for you to have an understanding of why you're not voting for them just because they're not just because they're Republican or Democrat, and understanding what part they played in the insurrection on the Capitol on that day? The ones that played a part in the voter fraud allegations all that time. All these things need to be taken into account before we get to these midterms in 2022, which will be this time next year. And then 2 years later, presidential. And the rumor is former President Trump is going to run again. Now, there's some people that are throwing their hat in the ring saying, no, this, that, well, we'll see what that comes out to. But if these investigations get and come to fruition like they should, and like they're supposed to, and the evidence is shown like it should be, and the public is given the information that we need to have, there's no way he should be able to run for president if he was involved in the way that we all have seen him be involved in things up to this point. Just me, it is what it is. Scapegoat. We got a scapegoat, y'all. I seen this one and I had to talk about it because I talked about it when it first happened. John Gruden, former coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, former TV analyst. Everybody remembers I talked about how he had all these emails where he was talking about the NFL Players Association, said he had lips like the Michelin tire man and all that kind of stuff. Well, now he's suing the NFL. He's suing the NFL because he got fired from his job, and they only released the emails that he sent, not the 65,000, or was it more than that? I think it might have been more than that. Might have been 650,000 emails. Out of all those 650,000 emails that were released under the investigation for the Washington football team, formerly the Washington Redskins, his emails were the only ones that were released, and he's suing the NFL because of loss of financial, his financials. And this is what it said. The lawsuit was filed Thursday in Clark County, Nevada District Court. The complaint alleges that the defendant selectively leaked Gruden's private correspondence to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times in order to harm Gruden's reputation and force him out of his job. Gruden's attorney, Adam Hosner-Henner, said in a statement, there is no explanation or justification for why Gruden's emails were the only ones made public out of the 650,000 emails collected in the NFL's investigation of the Washington football team, or for why the emails were held for months before being released in the middle of the Raiders season. So he's pissed because they released the emails in the middle of the season. They've had these emails. They've known about these emails for months and months and months, but they just decided to do it. Why? He's saying that they decided to release them because the Raiders are doing so well under him, and now he's making a resurgence as being known as a good coach. He wants his money. In contrast, the former lights of the Washington football team investigation, defendants' treatment of Gruden was a Soviet-style character assassination. The lawsuit says there was no warning and no process. Defendants held the emails for months until they were leaked to the national media in the middle of the Raiders season in order to cause maximum damage to John Gruden. Now, Michelle Long, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the support. Sharice Joseph, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate the support. So everybody remembers when this first broke. Everybody remembers when it first came out about John Gruden's emails, what he said, who he said it about, and so on and so on, about the gay football players, female referees, as well as the NFL Players Association, president. Being a Michelin man, he looks like the Michelin man or whatever he said, to that extent. But I'm with John Gruden on this because we've seen many times where someone does something or is accused or charged with something, and only their part that they played in it is exposed. But you're telling me out of 650,000 emails of everyone that was associated with the Washington football team, Washington Redskins, whatever you want to call it, at that time, where he was an analyst in the booth, he wasn't even on the field, he wasn't a member of any organization, but of all the people involved in these organizations, John Gruden, who was an analyst at the time, is the only one being held accountable for his emails out of 650,000 emails total. He's a scapegoat. Because I'm going to go out on a limb and say this, and I think I've said it before. If they were to release some of these 650,000 emails, or most of these 650,000 emails, you would find that these owners, general managers, and so on and so forth had so much vitriol towards Colin Kaepernick when he was doing what he did, when he chose to take a stand, that most of these owners and general managers probably had to step down or sell the teams, which is why these 650,000 emails are not coming out. Because if the Washington football team had these 650,000 emails, and mind you, this investigation was only because of workplace intimidation, sexual harassment, and so on and so forth, and they found these emails about John Gruden and what he said, and they found them to be so derogatory. You can't tell me that the organization of the NFL, after the Colin Kaepernick situation and anything else that's going on in their organization, and those 650,000 emails, that there's not an owner, a general manager, or someone who is still employed with the NFL did not have something negative to say other than John Gruden. There's no way. There's no way. None. Maurice Wigfall, good morning, bro. Appreciate you. No way. No how, no way. But John Gruden, for me. Now, I'm not saying what he did was right. Let's clear that up. What he said in those emails, he said in those emails. But for him to be the only one to take the fall for these 650,000 emails, I think is a problem. It's something that needs to be exposed. It's something that needs to be taught up. And the other part of it, we know for a fact, everyone had an opinion and still has an opinion about Colin Kaepernick and what he did when he decided to take a knee. So in those 650,000 emails, you can't tell me that some of these owners are the reason why, well, the main reason why he's blackballed from the league. But Aaron Rodgers is still playing when he lied about having, well, he didn't lie. He said he was immunized. He didn't say he was vaccinated. He said he was immunized. Let's see those emails for what's been going on over the last 2 years with the pandemic. Let's see those emails going around. These are the things that we look at. These are the things that we see. And then everybody talks about, oh, man, you're trying to make it a black and white issue and this and that. It's not the fact of making it a black and white issue. It's the fact that it comes down to a black and white issue in most cases. Raymond Hunter, in other words, pay me and I will go away. Well, yeah. But here's the question. And I appreciate that, Raymond Hunter, because here's the question I'm going to ask. If they don't pay him, what are he going to tell? What evidence and what information does he have, and what is he going to tell if they don't pay him? Because if they got his emails, he still got them emails too. I would assume most of us keep emails a long period of time. So I'm assuming he still has emails, maybe not just from Bruce Allen, but from other folks as well. Just saying. Maurice Wigfall, yes, indeed. I totally agree with you, bro. Let's see them. Let's see them. It's no different than what we were talking about with the insurrection investigation. What you hiding, who you trying to protect. What you hiding and who you're trying to protect. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. But people get so enthralled because it's football season. They get so happy because they're out there on the field playing and everything. Nobody wants to pay attention to the undercurrents of what's going on in the National Football League behind closed doors. Sharice Joseph, those other people are very nervous at this point. Oh, yes, they are. But are they? We would assume, let's put it, if it was us, we'd be very nervous. But are they nervous? Because they hold the key to the lock of what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. That's the difference. See, somebody like me, I'd be nervous to a certain extent. But you make a good point. They're nervous. And they should be. Because if it ever comes out, things are going to be just like, and I'm transitioning here for a minute. Russell Jenkins, nothing. You're right. Raymond Hunter, the Gruden book tour will happen. Oh, he's going to write a book. He's going to write a book. That goes without saying. And if he don't write a book, he's going to be on every channel talking about this until he's blue in the face. Something's going to have to give. And as you mentioned, Raymond Hunter, show me the money. They're going to pay him off. Just like they did Colin Kaepernick. Pay him off to keep him quiet. Pay him off to keep him quiet. That's exactly what it's going to come down to. But let me transition to this. And this is not in my notes, but have you noticed recently, over the last few years, a couple of years, we've seen a lot of investigation, a lot of information coming out about these owners of these teams. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, all of them across the board. We've seen a lot of information coming out that we were not privy to at certain times. When we heard about Donald Sterling, who was the LA Clippers owner, talking about, don't bring Magic Johnson to my games, don't bring that, he said the N-word because the girl that was, that kind of thing. Well, anyway, what he said, he ended up having to give up the team. He had to sell the team. But if you noticed over the last couple months, there's some owners that are on the hot seat. One in Phoenix, the Phoenix Suns owner, and I can't remember his name, so y'all forgive me. He's under investigation for workplace, stuff, improprieties. And then there was another one, I think, with I think it's another football team, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's obvious to me that these things have been going on for a long period of time, but no one's brought them to the forefront to be talked about. Why? As they always say about the NFL, and I'm going to say it about the NBA, the NHL, and all these big corporations like that, protect the shield. In the NFL, you always hear them say, protect the shield. The shield is the NFL emblem shield they're trying to protect. They're trying to protect the image of the NFL by not releasing these 650,000 emails. Because here's the thing that a lot of people will not understand or haven't really looked at the big picture. And I'm not saying I'm the brightest light bulb, so don't y'all get this twisted. But if you have 650,000 emails from the Washington football team that showed problems, improprieties, sexual harassment, all these different things in this organization, how many football teams are there again? And that was only concentrating on one of the many. Let's pull 650,000 emails from all the football teams, and let's see what we come up with. And you can do it in a certain range. It don't matter. Just a certain range of time. But I guarantee between those owners, the general managers, and the outside influencers of the owners, there'll be some very interesting conversations. Very interesting conversations. But it's funny to me that if you look back over time, when it came to investigating certain people, they could get you all the tapes they want on certain organizations. But certain organizations, hands off. They don't want to touch it. They don't want to deal with it. Why? Black Panthers, they had all kinds of tapes, phone taps, all types of things like that because they wanted to find something. When you don't want to find something, you don't look. It's just that simple. It's crazy. But it's out there. Let's just see how it plays out. Russell Jenkins, something that's normal can be interesting. You got a point. You're right. Something that's normal can't be. Well, yes, it can. Something normal can still be interesting because you may find something that's normal. Well, you got me. I'm going to leave that alone. I sounded good when I started, but I couldn't finish. Something that's normal can't be interesting. I'm going to let that marinate. I'll get back to that, but that's a good one. That's a good one. You got me on that one. So let's transition because I know y'all been waiting on this. Raymond Hunter, how many multi-billion corporations want their innermost dealings exposed? None of them. Let's just go here. How many people on a normal basis with the emails and the text messages and all the things they send want to be exposed for how they feel about certain situations? Very minimal. Because a lot of people out here that put things in writing in order to cover for how they truly feel when they speak. They would rather put it in writing rather than just say it. And they'll put it in writing to someone who has the same interests and the same ideas and the same ideology than they will say it to your face when you're the one they're talking about. So yeah, no, they don't want it exposed. None of them want it exposed. It's just the way it is. But let's transition to Kenosha, Wisconsin. Kenosha, Wisconsin. I've looked at a little bit of this trial. I'm not going to lie and say I've looked at a lot, but I've looked at a small amount of this trial to know what I know. Let's start with Kyle Rittenhouse. He was 17 years old when he killed two people, injured another, with an AR-15 that he wasn't supposed to have, traveling across state lines, said he was there to protect businesses who never asked him to do anything like that, was given praise by the police and thanking them for being there to help, and so on and so on and so forth. But everybody's concentrating on the fact that he sat up on they let him, now this is rare. Let's just go here. They actually put him on the stand. They actually put Kyle Rittenhouse on the stand to defend himself, to testify on what happened that night. How often do you see this nowadays? And I'm telling you this because there's always a method to the madness. Why would they put him on the stand? For the exact same reason that he did what he did while he was on the stand. They put him there to look vulnerable. They put him there to make it seem that he's still a child. They put him there for a symbolism of young white privilege. The young white privilege to be able to walk around with a gun, to be able to cross lines without at a young age and carry a gun that you're not supposed to have. They put him there to show that the rules and regulations do not abide by everybody. And if he's sentenced to a long period of time in jail, you're ruining his future. That's why he was on the stand. Yeah, his mother dropped him off. Ain't that something? Let him marinate. Been marinating for a while. But the reason he was on that stand was for you, me, and everybody who took the time to watch that to have some sort of compassion for this young white male who decided to go and kill two people and shoot another, injure another. Let's go there. In a city that he wasn't from, as Russell Jenkins said, dropped off by his mama. And earlier, there's a video that's he's in the car with a friend of his saying, I wish I had my AR right now. I'd knock a couple of people off. And they were coming out of a convenience store. But they won't let that be played in court. Why? Premeditated. Edward Allen, they're getting ready for this boy to walk, no consequences. Mama need to be charged too. Yeah, and you know, I'm glad you said it because there's been no discussion about accountability for anybody who contributed to this delinquent. And I'm going to call him what it is. I'm going to call him a delinquent because nobody's being held accountable to him being 17 years old. And the only time they talk about him being 17 years old is because of the decision he made, not the fact that he was 17 years old and he was a delinquent that someone chose to provide this atmosphere to. They dropped him off in this atmosphere where a child has no place. And look how it turned out. Oh, I'm getting ready to get to this judge in a minute. Thank you, Big Al. That's a whole nother conversation. But they dropped him off. No accountability. Now I'm going to flip this for a minute, and y'all get mad if you want, because I don't like to do comparisons, but I'm getting ready to show you something that shines brightly. Before I do that, let me say good morning to somebody. Good morning, Miss Kamiko Sewell King. What's going on? Appreciate you. So I want you to take this, and I'm going to do, A Time to Kill with Samuel L. When Matthew McConaughey did his last dissertation, his last closing argument, he told, close your eyes and this break it down like this, and this. And then he said, and now imagine that Cal Rittenhouse was black. And his black mother dropped him off there. And he shot two people and injured another. How much compassion would it be for that 17-year-old, 18-year-old now, young black man to sit in that box, testify about what happened that night, break down crying, and the judge say, let's take a break so he can compose himself? Where did you ever, or where will you ever find this? Straight out the, well, I call him delinquent because that's the word they use. I think that would relate. Thank you, Deborah Harris. Thug. Call it what it is. He's a thug, because if it was someone of color, he would have been a thug. Thank you very much. Haley Collins, hey, niece. He wouldn't have gotten a chance to sit on that stand if he was black. Exactly. Well, they wouldn't have put him up there. And they wouldn't have put him there because they would have made him the poster child for what happened. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's why they wouldn't have put him there. Because the lawyers, his defense team would have said, oh, no, we're not putting him up there. No, we can't put him up there. They're going to tear him apart. Because what they would have done, which I haven't seen them do, they would have dug into his past. They would have, if he's 18 years old now, they went all the way back to when he was 10 years old and maybe stole a pack of lifesavers. I'm going back. Stole a pack of lifesavers from a liquor store because they didn't know no better. But they'd have brought that up. See, these are the things that we look at. And like I say, everybody talks about the black and white. It becomes black and white because we see it as black and white because that's what it is. Let's not sugarcoat this. If the roles were reversed, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. You know why? Because it would have been par for the course. He would have got the maximum amount of time that he could have gotten, not because of the crime, not because of his defense didn't do a good job, simply because how he looked, where his background was. And then they'll bring up the fact of he grew up in a broken home. He didn't have a father. He didn't have a father figure. I ain't seen no father in Kyle Rittenhouse's corner, have you? But nobody's bringing that up. Russell Jenkins, the black version, would not even have been able to walk in that area with an assault rifle in the first place. Well, first of all, you're right. But where would we going to get the assault rifle, number one? And number two, the phone calls would have been already made as soon as you bought that assault rifle before you walked out the door, if they sold it to you. If they would have sold it to you. And and I'm glad you brought that up, and I know you got some other comments, but hold on a minute. And then the other part of it was the person that bought the AR-15, the young friend of his that bought the AR-15 illegally, he went in and bought it because he wasn't old enough to buy it. He's being held accountable. He's being charged. They're not talking about that. The one who bought the gun is being charged for buying the gun, kind of sort of as an accomplice to what happened. But they're not talking about that. They're holding him accountable, but not Kyle Rittenhouse, who fired the weapon. Put up unflattering pictures from his Facebook page. I've seen none. None. All you see is this little choir boy thing, as they say. That's the pictures you see. The innocence of a child. So they say. Remember, Hunter, if he were black, they would get everybody associated with him. Remember black teens from New York? Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. Central Park 5? That what we talking about? They didn't even get a fair trial. And since we're talking about fair trial, let's transition for a minute. Thank you for that comment, everybody. Judge Bruce Schroeder. 75 years old Judge Bruce Schroeder. Bruce Schroeder. I don't care if I butcher his name or not, because he's been sitting on the court since 1983. He's the longest serving judge in Wisconsin. The way they described him in some of the articles that I looked at was that he's no nonsense, he's quirky, he has his little idiosyncrasies and all this kind of stuff, but no one ever said that he doesn't judge according to the law. He judges according to how he feels that day. And anybody who has watched this court case, any bit of it, or seen the comments that he's made, knows that he is not a judge who judges according to law. He's a judge who judges by according to whoever the defendant is, how he feels about the prosecutor, and how he feels about the case, which is the same guidance that he gives the jury of not to be biased, but he sits there and is being biased by himself. Now, there was one thing that jumped out at me that I seen, and I had the picture, but I couldn't pull it up. But you can all go pull it up. When have you ever seen, watch this now, this is how comfortable this trial is with who's on trial. When have you ever seen a defendant stand behind a judge while the judge is viewing a video with the lawyer and the prosecution? They're looking at this video and the defendant is standing behind him, mind you, no handcuffs, no shackles, nothing. Now, he's standing behind him and he's looking at the same video that this judge is looking at in the courtroom. And in the picture, there's no guards anywhere around them. Listen, what I'm telling you, you can pull it up. The judge is sitting in a chair here. The TV is right there. His lawyer is here. He is right here behind him. There's no guards anywhere. What courtroom have you ever seen in any situation that there's not armed guards around the defendant anytime he goes up to the witness stand, anytime he's addressing the judge, anytime you see a defendant in a courtroom, there are armed guards around to protect that judge. And in this case, this judge is nonchalantly sitting in a chair outside of the bench now. He came down from the bench, sitting in a chair with the defendant's lawyer and the defendant over his shoulder watching the video. The visuals alone will tell you how comfortable these people are with this case, how comfortable they are with thinking that this person is not a threat, how comfortable they are when it comes time to come down with a sentence and they find him not guilty. The visuals is all you need to see. You didn't have to hear anything about what the judge said about you can't call them victims. You didn't have to hear anything the judge with his phone going off in the courtroom. You didn't have to hear anything about the way he's been chastising the prosecution. You didn't have to hear any of that. All you have to do is see that one picture. That one picture tells you everything you need to know about the justice system, how the justice system is comfortable when the defendants look like the judge, where there are no armed guards anywhere in the vicinity of that young killer. Let's just call it what it is, where that young killer is standing over the shoulder of a judge. And they got the nerve to say that the justice system is fair. And in the meantime, 500 Army National Guardsmen from Kenosha, from Wisconsin are on standby and will be on the border of Kenosha, Wisconsin. And they're telling people, if you don't live there, don't come here. But you can get the National Guard to come out there when the closing arguments aren't till Monday. But you can't get people to protect the Capitol when an insurrection, when you knew what was going to happen months in advance. You do the math. You do the math. They don't see a criminal, they see Richie Cunningham. I couldn't have said anything better. Opie. Richie Cunningham, Opie, my three sons. And you brought up a good point, Raymond Hunter. And I thought about this when I was looking at that picture. And I thought about this with all the things I've heard this judge say in this case. And I've seen the way the news has reported this case. And what I've seen is the way this case is being handled is in a manner of that young man could be any of their sons. That's how they're looking at this case. He didn't do anything wrong. It was in self-defense. He didn't do anything wrong. He made a mistake. Why should we threaten and jeopardize this young man's bright future? Because he made a mistake. Henry Ruggs had a bright future too. I don't see too many people coming to his defense about drunk driving at 156 miles an hour and hitting somebody and killing them. Two different cases. But they'll both have bright futures. Let somebody tell it. I don't hear nobody talking about, as I transition, the bright future that Ahmaud Arbery had before they tried to hunt him down and kill him. How bright was his future? He didn't have a bright future. You know why? Because they want to bring up everything he did in his past. So his future looked dim. It looked dim. So the fact that they killed him, par for the course. His future wasn't bright anyway. He was going to be a criminal. His background shows that. No more black pastors. No, none. Don't y'all come up in here. Don't y'all come up. Don't come around your boy. No more black pastors. Now, when I seen this, so anybody that don't know, Ahmaud Arbery, the people that killed him are on trial. down in Brunswick, Georgia. Big Al, they need to fill that courtroom up with black pastors. Yes, they did. I missed you on that one. Wally Cleaver. There you go. Wally, leave it to be. Wally Cleaver. So they don't want black pastors in the courtroom in the trial going on down there in Brunswick, Georgia. And this is what they say. They don't want any more black pastors coming in here. The lawyer Kevin Goff, or Goff, whatever it is, who was representing William Roddy Bryan, told Judge Timothy Walmsley when the jury was out of the courtroom. Y'all got them comments coming today. I can't keep up. Hold on, y'all. Comfortable, aren't they? Yes, they are. With one black juror. That's why they don't want nobody else in the courtroom. They say, hey, we met our quota. We got one. We got one. The family, they cool. They cool. They should be here. But all them other people, what y'all doing? This ain't no family reunion. This ain't no barbecue. Why are they here? And let me read what he said. When he talked about Al Sharpton being there, he said, I'm guessing he was there at the invitation of the victim's family in this case. And I have nothing personal against Mr. Sharpton. My concern is that it's one thing for the family to be present. It's another thing to ask for the lawyers to be present. He added, but if we are going to start a precedent starting yesterday where we're going to bring high profile members of the African-American community into the courtroom to sit with the family during the trial in the presence of the jury, I believe that's intimidating. And it's an attempt to pressure, could be consciously or unconsciously, an attempt to pressure or influence the jury. He also said that to his knowledge, Sharpton doesn't have a church in Glenn County, Georgia, where the trial is being held and never has. Now, as Russell Jenkins says so eloquently, one black juror on the jury out of 12, 1 of 12. We talked about it last week, 1 of 12. And this lawyer is concerned about the other jurors being intimidated by pastors being in the, out there in the midst of the courtroom, sitting with the family. They think it's intimidating. He said, we have school board members, we have county commissioners, we have all kinds of pastors in this town, over 100. And the idea that we're going to be serially bringing these people in, watch the verbiage now, bringing these people in to sit with the victim's family one after another. Obviously, there's only so many pastors they can have. And if their pastor right now is Al Sharpton, that's fine. Then that's it. We don't want any more black pastors coming in here trying to influence the jury in this case. He also took exception to the presence of Reverend Jesse Jackson, whom he said sat with Arbery's family in the gallery also this week. Let's just call a spade a spade. He don't have a problem with the black pastors. He has a problem with black pastors with notoriety. He has a problem with those who are in the public eye for what they've done in their life as pastors, when they've stood up for injustice. Think about what we're talking about here. He called out Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Al Sharpton, who's been around for a long period of time, we'll strike the Tawana Brawley thing from there, but he's been around a long time, fighting for justice and speaking up about injustices over time. Many, many years. A lot of people don't agree with Al Sharpton. That's your choice. But he's been around fighting this fight for a long time. You have to take that into account. Jesse Jackson marched with Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's not the fact of who's sitting in there. It's not the fact of how many are sitting there. It's the status of who's sitting in there is the issue. And why it's an issue, I'm still trying to understand, because I want to know who all the other people of non-color are that are sitting in the congregation, or not the congregation, excuse me, talking about pastors, let me back up. Who the people of non-color are that sitting in the gallery of the courtroom? Where are they from? Because here's what I know to be true. And I'm going to say this. For them to call out how many pastors and how many pastors we don't need in this courtroom. I'm going to ask this question because I've never been to Glenn County, Georgia. But from what I've seen and what I've heard about this case and the people who killed Ahmaud Arbery, you can go and say that there's probably some KKK activity in that area. Ride with me now. So within that area where the KKK activity is probably going on, you probably have the KKK sitting in that courtroom, but nobody has a problem with them intimidating the jurors who all look like them. But they have a problem with the pastors being out there who they think will influence the people that don't look like them. Now that analogy might have went over somebody's head, but I knew what I was talking about. Hopefully you caught it. We know who the pastors are because of the positions they hold, the notoriety in the public view. But we don't know those other people that are sitting in the gallery that aren't pastors, that are of a different skin tone, and what association they may have with white nationalism, white supremacists, or anything like that. But nobody ever speaks about that during a court hearing, do they? Keep an eye on these cases, y'all. Keep an eye on. Because what I know to be true, let me go to this comment. Raymond Hunter, I used to live in that area. They could care less about Al Sharpton than any other northern troublemaker, which is what I was labeled as. Oh, I didn't fall asleep on you. I was just trying to let y'all marinate that for a minute of what Raymond Hunter just said. Symbolism. Symbolism. It's the symbolism of what they're trying to do. It's the symbolism of what they're trying to portray in this case. It goes back to the fact of them saying that Ahmaud Arbery shouldn't have been where he was at. They were protecting their neighborhood. However, when they said they were trying to make a citizen's arrest, none of the police officers who testified this week said that they ever said anything about making a citizen's arrest in their statement, in their first comments, or anything when they were first questioned about what happened. Citizen's arrest came in later on when they found out what they found out, and they knew they couldn't get away with it no more. Woke or educated? Are you woke or are you becoming educated? I bring this up because this is something that I think a lot of us need to hear and a lot of us need to understand. And this is for those out there who want to just throw this thing on there about you're too woke, or there's too many woke people, or this woke society. Let me clear something up for you. And this is the R.W. Coons perspective. Take it how you want, but I'm going to put it in the simple terms that many people can understand. Woke means alert to injustice in society, especially racism. Woke means alert to injustice in society, especially racism. Educated. Educated means having an education based on some knowledge of fact. Let me give you education again. Education means having an education based on some knowledge of fact. Woke or educated? I want you to figure out which one you are. Because I think what's going on now is they want to keep calling everybody that wants to stand up about what's going wrong and how we are being treated and what's not right about the systems in this country as being woke. And we hear it over and over again. Oh, the woke posse. You hear it on Fox News. You hear it from some of these politicians. You hear it this, that, and the reason the world is so messed up, the United States is so messed up because all this wokeness and everything like that. Hold on a minute. See, this is where we fall into the trap because we use this. We got shirts that say woke AF as to say woke as, you know what I'm saying? But what we got to do is step back for a minute and think about it this way. They talk about us being woke. But from these definitions and everything you've seen, everything I've just talked about, are you woke or are you being educated? And I say, are you being educated? Because the things we're learning about now that we didn't know before, we're educating ourselves on. We're getting a better understanding. The 1619 Project, this critical race theory that they want to harp and haw about. They're not mad for the fact that you're woke. They're mad because you're educating yourself on what they don't want you to be educated on. There's the difference. Stop calling yourself woke and call yourself educated on the fact of what you know to be true. Educated people are strong people. Woke people is a synonym for, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you may know a little bit, but you don't know enough to be what you're talking, to know what you're talking about. And we're not going to let you integrate your wokeness into our history. But if we switch that and start putting what we're educated on into our history, how can they fight it? There's going to always be pushback when you're trying to change the narrative of what's always been said. But change it from being woke to being educated. Educate yourself on what the critical race theory is. Educate yourself on the 1619 Project. Educate yourself on everything that involves us and what's going on in this country. To not have to walk around with this thing called I'm woke, where they can use it against you. Because here's the one thing we know. When you call someone educated, they tend to look at you differently. See, we look at education as a piece of paper to say, I regurgitated all the information they gave me while I was going to school to earn this master's or bachelor's or doctorate or whatever you may have earned. I'm educated because I got this piece of paper that tells me I can regurgitate what 1 + 1 is. I can regurgitate what, the 1776 is when the United States of America was founded. I can regurgitate all that information, and they call me educated. But when you try to educate yourself on the things they didn't teach you, they flip it and call you woke. Think about that. They don't call you educated because you're filling in the blanks and filling the gaps of what history didn't teach you or what they don't want you to know. They call you woke. Stop carrying this woke thing around as a badge of honor. And if you know what you know, call yourself educated, because that's what you are. That's what we are. It doesn't take you to have to go and read the curriculum from a school, and this is the way it's set up for you to consider yourself to be educated. You're being educated every day through life. So if there's something in this history that we need to know, that you need to open a book and read about, stop letting them say just because you read that book that now you're woke. Stop letting them think that just because you know what the critical race theory is all about, that you're woke. No, you're educated. You're more educated than them. That's why they minimize it to call you woke. That's just me. The way I see it. May make sense to some, may not make sense to others, but we got to get out of this mindset of people minimizing our educational value that we bring to the table. The simple word of woke. Well, hell, you woke up this morning. Every day you awaken. Educated. That's what you are. You're educated, not just woke. If they can't steal it for profit, they spin it with a negative connotation. When I come on here on Saturday mornings, I don't come on here to tell y'all I'm woke. I come on here to give y'all information that you can use without feeling that because you know this, that you're woke. If you take the time to educate yourself, then make people address you as being educated, not woke. See, they only use woke when it pertains to us reading and educating ourselves on the things that they don't want you to know, or the things that would change the dichotomy of what you've been taught over all these years. Let that marinate. Woke or educated? Which one you choose to be? I'm going with educated. But that's just me. You choose. Woke, alert to injustice in society, especially racism. We deal with that every day. That don't make you woke. That makes you aware. Educated, having an education based on some knowledge of fact. We all have some knowledge of the fact that racism still exists because we deal with it consistently. Am I educated because of that? Or am I woke? Words, words, words. Let's get into this mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and soul, year 2021. We're coming to a close, y'all. We got about a month and a half, give or take, till we get to 2022. And this year's been about self-help, self-care, taking it one day at a time, which is what we've been doing. And today's quote comes from Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela. And the quote goes says as such: I am the captain of my soul. I am the captain of my soul. You know, we all know Nelson Mandela's trials and fights and what he fought through. And we just seen recently that F.W. de Klerk, I think his name was, the apartheid president at the time, had passed away this week. The one that held Nelson Mandela in bondage for all those years and everything. But I am the captain of my soul. And for this quote to come from someone that we know as Nelson Mandela, who went through everything he went through, it really makes you think, when you talk about your soul, what are you controlling and what are you letting be controlled? See, we do a lot of soul searching, we say, as far as what we want in life and what we need to do in life and everything like that. But I'm going to take it a different way. I'm going to talk about the captain of your soul as far as how you react to things that are not of you. You're the captain of your soul on how you deal with hatred. You're the captain of your soul, how you deal with happiness, all the emotions that you may garner up within your soul. You have control over. You know, I seen another quote that said that, you know, people aren't born racist. It's a learned trait, a learned activity. But we give people the benefit of the doubt to say that they weren't born racist, and they were learned. It's a learned activity. It's something they learn over time. It's probably in their household or something, this, that, and whatever. But no one ever gives the benefit of the doubt of what they call the angry black man or the angry black woman, and why we may be upset about certain things at certain times that happen to us. I may be the captain of my soul, but there's a whole lot of outside influence that affect how I captain this soul. It's like that ship on stormy seas. The captain may not always have it under control, but he's going to do his best to keep it en route, you know, on the way he's supposed to be going by that compass. It's no different than your soul. Everything that comes at you on a daily basis can alter how you feel about where you're at, how you react to what's going on around you. But a lot of our reactions to the things that go on around us and things that happen to us are dictated by our experiences. They're dictated by things that have happened over time. They're dictated by things that we see from our own eyes that we can relate to because it's being done to someone that looks like us. You can be the captain of your own soul, but it's going to be a bumpy ride because all those outside influence can make that waver. You may be a God-fearing person and still have that soul alter, depending on what the situation is on a daily basis. I'm not telling you that you can wake up tomorrow and just take control over every situation that's going to come your way. Because as I mentioned, your experiences are going to dictate how you react to certain things on a consistent basis. When we talk about and we see everything going on in these trials, the way, you know, the woke versus the educated and all these different things that we hear about, the injustices we see and all the things going on around us, it can cause your soul to be shaken to the core. And as much control as you may have as being the captain of your own soul, just remember that captain is only human. The captain is still only human. But sometimes you have to step back and right the ship and put it back on course and take those experiences as a learning experience, not to get rid of them and not to hold on to them as a crutch, but to educate yourself and understand that these things happen. And just because it hasn't happened to me yet doesn't mean it won't and it can't. But dictating how you deal with these things is going to dictate how you become and control as being the captain of your soul on a consistent basis, no matter what's going on around you. You're going to get angry. You're going to feel defeated. You're going to get to a point where you feel broken. But as the captain of your soul, you got to get back in control. Don't let your emotions dictate everything that and how you react to everything around you. Be grounded in your soul as the captain, and don't let anybody else become the captain of your ship or your soul to take you off course of who you know you are to becoming who they want you to be. I am the captain of my soul. We're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. Keep an eye on what's going on around you, man. Keep an eye on all the things. And as I always say, we always talk about everything's not black and white. There's gray areas here. There's gray areas there. But when we see these things and they're exposed to us, pay attention. And as I mentioned before in the woke versus educate yourself. Pay attention. Read. Listen. Don't just watch one channel and what their opinion is. Watch multiple channels. Read. Find out what's going on in the world. Stop listening to what everybody else has to say and dig in for yourself so you can become not just woke, but educated. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up today. As I said, I appreciate everybody tuning in. As I always say before I sign off, and we'll be back again next week. So make sure you come. You can also download it on iTunes, Apple iTunes, or Spreaker.com if you want to listen to the audio after the fact. And as I always say, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all again next week. Holla at me. Peace.